The December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Alcoffer. Here. Mr. Ansello. Here. Ms. Barnhart. Here. Mr. Baroff. Here. Ms. Boyce. Here. Mr. Brew. Here. President Carbone.
Here.
Mr. Delahanty. Here. Mrs. DeFlorio. Here. Mrs. Draw. Here. Mr. Felder. Here. Mr. Flagler Mitchell. Here. Ms. Halstead. Here. Mr. Hebert. Here. Mr. Howland. Here. Ms. Cayley. Here. Ms. Lamar. Here. Mr. Lightfoot. Here. Mr. Mafucci. Here. Mr. Marinetti. Here. Mr. Michike. Here. Mr. Morelli. Here. Mr. Rockow. Here for the last time. Mr. Shepard is excused. Ms. Taylor. Mr. Turt. Here. Mr. Wilcox. Here. Mr. Wilt. Here. Mr. Zale. Here.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Reverend Patrina Freeman of Graves Memorial, who's been invited by Legislator Joe Morelli Jr. to lead us in a moment of prayer. Thank you.
In our faith tradition, we say, "This is the day that the Lord has made," whether it's snowy or rainy, whether it's cold or warm, I will rejoice and be glad in it. I ask that you pray with me. Most gracious, loving God, we pause now to acknowledge you as the creator and sustainer of all life. It is you, dear Lord, who have created us and not we ourselves. Almighty God, we welcome your presence in this chamber. Let your divine wisdom inform our thoughts, and your unconditional love influence the actions that we take here tonight. Bestow upon this gathered public body a measure of civility, compassion, and clarity as it seeks to address the most pressing needs of our community. I pray for grace for every legislator and every leader present tonight. Let the light of truth guide their way, and the spirit of love illuminate their path. Now, I ask that you will bless everyone under the sound of my voice. Let them know that they are deeply loved and precious in your sight. I pray, dear God, that you will intervene and direct the course of their life and grant them thine peace. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Amen.
Please stand as Legislator Barnhart will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Your copy of the Journal of Day 11, November 12, 2019 is available on your tablet. Without exception, the journal will stand approved as submitted. There's a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic device in your possession, I request you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
Legislators, as this is the last meeting of the 2016-2019 legislative session, the referrals will be available to you and the public after the organizational meeting of the new legislature. There are several proclamations scheduled this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Will Mike Davis please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and County Executive Cheryl Donalfo. Whereas Michael Davis has spent his entire career both defending and upholding the law. After receiving his law degree from SUNY Buffalo, Michael began his professional career in private sector firms before joining the Monroe County Law Department in 1997. Michael quickly rose through the department, serving as senior deputy county attorney to second deputy county attorney in 2007. After a 7-year tenure with the Rochester City School District, Michael returned to Monroe County in 2016 as county attorney. And whereas, as county attorney, Mike served as legal advisor to the Monroe County and the Monroe County Legislature. Through his tenure, he has provided sound legal advice on a number of issues during countless legislature meetings. Always meticulous and thoughtful in his approach, he was a trusted counselor to the legislature and county staff. And whereas Michael's skill and knowledge have benefited the county and its residents greatly, he has displayed resilience and fortitude in ensuring compliance with the county charter, thus protecting the county and its employees. Michael is valued as a colleague, friend, giving his time and generosity to assist with others, including serving as a tutor for lawyers for learning at School 29 since 1995. And whereas Monroe County has been fortunate to have Michael serve as county attorney for the last 4 years, his leadership has guided the department through a wide array of legal issues, and his impact will continue to be felt in the years to come. Mike has truly exemplified professionalism and commitment to Monroe County and will be deeply missed after his retirement. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and the members of the Republican Caucus do hereby recognize and congratulate Michael E. Davis on his well-deserved retirement from the Monroe County Law Department.
Well, thank you. This is an unexpected surprise. The last person to call me Michael was my mother, so thanks for that. It has certainly been my honor and privilege to have this job. Those of you that know me, as an attorney, I was a litigator for 35 years before I came here, and has presented some real challenges. I've had a great staff in the law department that at every turn I think has made me look good, but it's been my honor and privilege to serve the administration, particularly Cheryl Donalfo, and both the Republicans and Democrats in this body. So thank you all.
Will Robert Burns please come forward? Also, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo and Dr. Joe Carbone. Whereas Monroe County residents rely on strong, passionate, and caring leaders to serve our community, foster opportunity, and keep the public safe. For nearly 3 decades, Robert Burns has served as a member of the Monroe County Public Safety Team, and in every role he has held in this department has exemplified the outstanding service we have come to expect from public safety professionals in Monroe County. And whereas, prior to his arrival in Monroe County, Robert Burns started his career in public service in 1974. In 1991, Robert was elevated to the role of Chief Probation Officer in Monroe County, where he served until 2016. In this capacity, Robert displayed his passion for the public safety needs of our community for over 25 years, making him the longest-serving probation administrator in the history of Monroe County. In 2016, because of his unmatched experience and career of effective leadership, he was appointed to the position of Monroe County Public Safety Director. In addition to this capacity, Burns became the chair of the Monroe County Criminal Justice Council and co-chaired the Public Safety Sector Team. And whereas, as Director of Public Safety, Robert ensured that all Monroe County services at his discretion were administered with a simple tenet: the well-being of all residents. Robert has served the residents of Monroe County with his unmatched hard work, devotion, and understanding. From implementing a new state-of-the-art computer-aided dispatch system and installing and managing the decade-long trunk radio overhaul, Robert has overseen comprehensive improvements to both our public safety department and first responders throughout Monroe County. And whereas, after 46 years in public service and decades of that time to the County of Monroe, Robert has demonstrated his immense dedication to the people of this community. He worked hard in every capacity he served, always leading by example. Monroe County residents enjoy safer, better lives because of Robert's dedication to others. We are immensely grateful for his decades of work in service to our community. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo, County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and the Republican members of the Majority Caucus, on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate Robert Burns on his well-deserved retirement from the County of Monroe.
Thank you very much. I have attended every legislative session since 1991, except for one. And by my calculations, that means I have seen about 1,100 proclamations. And it also means that I've looked at all of your faces when somebody talks too long, so I will not talk long at all. Like Mike, this is a surprise. There's a tradition that people who are receiving a proclamation thank their family. My family doesn't know about this, so I need someone in the back to stand up for just a minute, pretend to be my wife. Thank you. So, as you know, this job is 24/7. Dear, I forget your name, I'm sorry. And it is a sacrifice. You hear it from anybody in law enforcement. I missed a concert last night, and I've got 2 more weeks to get the work done. So I will simply say thank you. I've enjoyed all of my years, both in Albany County, where I started as a probation officer, and in Monroe County. Thank you to Cheryl and the other 4 county executives I served. Thank you to this body, and most importantly, thank you to the citizens of Monroe County. Thank you.
Will Larry Staub please come forward? Also, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo and Dr. Joe Carbone. Whereas choosing to dedicate your life to others through a public service career is an admirable decision. Larry Staub has spent the past 33 years doing just that, serving the Monroe County community in many significant roles and ending his public service career as a Monroe County Parks Director. He has dedicated his life to improving the Monroe County community as a whole. And whereas Larry began his career in public service as a record management assistant at the Monroe County Board of Elections, he became the Deputy Clerk of the Monroe County Legislature and wanted to be a legislative assistant in the Republican office of the Monroe County Legislature. In this office, he then moved up to Staff Director, followed by Chief of Staff. From there, he became Chief of Staff in the office of Senator Jim Alisi. He later returned to the county to work as Director of Communications. Finally, Larry was appointed to the position of Director of Parks by County Executive Maggie Brooks. He has been serving in that position since 2006. In addition to this role as Parks Director, Larry has been serving as the Director of the Seneca Park Zoo for the past 18 months. And whereas, in his tenure as Parks Director, Larry oversaw many large-scale projects, including the development of the cold Asia and animals of the savanna habitats and corresponding introduction of new species, construction of the new Frederick Douglass Memorial Plaza, insourcing of all operations at our 3 county golf courses, opening of the Waterfront Lodge at Abraham Lincoln Park and Lakefront Lodge at Webster Park, building large-scale and innovative nature play areas at Highland Park and the Seneca Park Zoo, reimagining and improving the Rochester Lilac Festival, supported the designated off-road cycling opportunities, expansion of the county's dog park consortium, protection and promotion of our historic Olmsted designated landscapes, and leasing the historic Warner Castle to the Landmark Society of Western New York for their new headquarters. And whereas, after 3 decades of service, Larry has developed an earned reputation as a leader in our community. He spent his career improving and expanding the parks and facilities that make Monroe County a desired destination for so many people. We are forever grateful for his service to our community. Now, therefore, we, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and the members of the Republican Caucus, on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Lawrence Staub II on his well-deserved retirement from the Monroe County Parks Department.
Well, thank you, and I know what you're thinking. Wow, he looks so young. How could he possibly be retirement age, right? But thank you. This is an honor, and like the 2 before me, I found out about this around 4 o'clock when I was going home to change my clothes, and Jack Moffitt said, you better get there around 6, because I asked how many speakers there were. No offense, speakers. I have served through every county executive. Morin, Fry, King, Doyle, Brooks, and D'Onofrio. And I've had my share of ups and downs, but it's been a great ride. And the last 13 years, serving as Director of Parks has been a true joy. The last 18 months have been the pinnacle of my career, serving as in the dual role as Director of Seneca Park Zoo. And I can truly appreciate how important parks and the zoo and all of our facilities are to the people of Monroe County. Because parks are truly democratic institutions, as Frederick Law Olmsted said. Everyone can appreciate parks, and everyone is welcome in our parks. And I hope it stays that way. My wife is here. So my wife, Dawn, thank you. Dawn's put up with a lot, and a lot of late night phone calls, a lot of having to leave, a lot of taking texts and calls on vacation, but it's all been worth it. And I will close with a quote. And my wife's thinking to herself right now, oh God, what is he gonna say? But Richard Nixon said, that's right. Richard Nixon said, only after you have walked through the darkest valley can you truly appreciate how magnificent the view is while standing atop the highest mountain. I don't know about you, but I've spent my share of days in the valley, some very recently. And when I find myself in the valley, I keep walking and I keep climbing because I choose to spend the majority of my days standing atop that highest mountain and marveling at that magnificent view. Today is one of those days, and I thank you for this honor.
Will Judge Tom Van Strydank please come forward? County Executive Cheryl D'Onofrio and Dr. Joe Carbone. Judge, you get to command. Whereas a lifetime of service to one's community and country is both courageous and commendable. Judge Thomas Van Strydank exemplifies this principle, serving others from the beginning of his career. After graduating from Aquinas Institute in 1962, Judge Van Strydank attended the University of Windsor and the University of Buffalo Law School, but paused his legal studies to join the Navy during the Vietnam War. His 4 years of active duty included one tour on the coastal patrol off the shores of Vietnam. He continued his time in the Naval Reserve and retired as a commander in 1988. And whereas, while serving in the Naval Reserve, Judge Van Strydank finished his law degree and began to practice law at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, and later a private firm. In 1988, he was appointed to the New York State Supreme Court, where he served until his retirement in 2012. Despite his retirement, public service called once again, and Judge Van Strydank answered the call, joining the County of Monroe as Deputy County Executive in 2016. He is an integral member of the D'Onofrio administration, bringing his keen legal mind and pragmatic approach to any issue our community faces. And whereas Judge Van Strydank has a legacy of service in various capacities, including as president of the Adam Walsh Child Resource Center, the Volunteer Legal Services Corporation, and the Pretrial Release Service Board. He's also served on the boards of the Veterans Outreach Center, the Buffalo Law School Dean's Advisory Council, and Monroe County Bar Foundation, and the Rape Crisis Center. He served as president of the Monroe County Bar Association in 1987. And whereas, for the entirety of his career, Judge Thomas Van Strydank has proudly served the United States of America, the state of New York, and most importantly, his home, the County of Monroe. Through his guidance and leadership, he's impacted the lives of countless residents. His legacy rivals even the greatest Monroe County residents, and we are fortunate to have benefited from his service. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl D'Onofrio, County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and members of the Republican Caucus, on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate Judge Thomas Van Strydank on his well-deserved retirement from Monroe County.
Thank you very much.
You left out the fact that I was president of my 6th grade class, an office that I had to hold 2 years. I gave the other speakers here a tough time for dragging the night out by their speeches, so mine will be very simple. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to Cheryl for giving me the opportunity to serve as Deputy County Exec. Thank you.
Will Willie Murphy please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone and County Legislator Cindy Cayley. Okay. Yep.
I will now recess the legislature to hold public hearings before the Pure Waters Administrative Board. I now declare open the public hearing on resolutions entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Gates-Chiley-Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
There are no registered speakers for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Arundecoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I now declare this public hearing closed. I declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I now declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. We have several registered to address the legislature tonight. And as everybody knows, this is our last meeting of the year. It's the budget meeting. It goes almost till midnight, and I'm going to insist that the public speakers hold their comments to the 2-minute time limit, please.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I'll call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and please conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the rear of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers are Margaret Burns, Mary Hamel, and Paul Frisella.
Good evening, County Executive, County Legislators, and fellow Monroe County citizens. I'm Mary Hamley, a resident and voter in Monroe County. I've come tonight with our Senior Minister and Board of Trustees, as well as many members of the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, to speak out against the recent anti-harassment law and the proposed moratorium on the New York State bail reform law. As Unitarians, we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. To uphold worth and dignity, earnest listening is required. Last week, 27 individual Monroe County citizens stepped forward on December 2nd to tell their stories and explain their fears about the bill. We were invited to speak, yet greeted by the empty chairs of our county executive and elected Republican legislators. How sad and discouraging that the bill was conceived, proposed, voted on, and signed into law with no time for contemplation or consideration for the voices of those who stand to be hurt by it. It may not be the intention of this legislation to cause harm in communities of color, but the impact is real. To understand how implicit bias and systemic racism create and sustain racial inequity in U.S. communities, I recommend Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. The introduction alone will explain much of the nation's history that's left out of our school books. For example, a Monroe County moratorium derails bail reform in New York State by resurrecting fear-mongering tactics about the dangers of releasing low-level offenders who often have lower income and are black or brown, while giving get-out-of-jail cards to white suburbanites with access to cash bail. I appeal to your sense of integrity and equity to repeal the anti-harassment law and withdraw the idea of a bail reform moratorium. Thank you.
I am Paul Frisella. The recent conduct of the Monroe County Republican Party at the time of the past election was poor. The public, me included, protested when that Republican Party tried to take away the rights of a newly elected official. This shows that the Republican Party in this county is only looking out for themselves, primitive, selfish conduct. I have an even more important comment on something else. The Roman Catholic Church in New York and elsewhere have engaged in abusive behavior and sometimes have tried to cover that up and have done the total opposite of what the Bible says. I encourage every believer in the Bible to stop supporting the Roman Catholic Church right now. And if you see such abuse, stop it or report it.
Our next three speakers are Deb Chappett, Carol Camp, and Ann Karasalati.
Good evening. My name's Deb Chappett. I live in the city of Rochester, and I wanted to speak tonight briefly about the changed political landscape ahead for the Monroe County government, what the expectations of voters are, and the opportunities that we have as a community to chart a new course. The first few weeks after the election were, to say the least, inauspicious. I think the actions taken by the legislature represented a disregard for the electorate that was somewhat predictable, stunningly transparent, and fortunately for us, a little bit inept. I was kind of reminded of my son's very nice but not particularly astute dog trying to engage with my cat. So the cat is huffed up, it's hissing, and the dog just couldn't grasp that the cat didn't want to play any doggy games, not even if it was declared a matter of urgency. So I hope that you now understand that the election results, the outraged response to some of the actions of this legislature, is the electorate puffed up, hissing, and saying to you, no more doggy games. So we have an opportunity, I think, to really show what government can be for a community. And I think your first opportunity will be with the appointment of department heads and the approval of department heads. You have an opportunity to show that department heads can be appointed not based on what party they belong to, who they've donated campaign funds to, but on their qualifications and their ideas. You can start to re-engage an electorate that has been really jaded about having any voice or any true power. Think about making sure that the resumes of every candidate put forward are posted on the website. Make known your reasons for your vote. If you're going to vote against a candidate, I want to know why. And I think that together we can put together an effective team capable of innovation and collaboration. Or You could continue to find ways to obstruct the process and, continue with the doggy games. Just so you know, the cat actually chased the dog right out of the room.
Hello, I'm Carol Camp, resident of the City of Rochester. I'm here in support of the County of Monroe making a plan for climate change. I applaud the teens from local high schools who first brought this issue before you. They are better citizens and more adults than many of the adults I know. I do not underestimate the job that you as the county legislature have before you. So many issues calling for your attention. The economic repercussions of climate change, however, will bring already taxed funds to a crisis point, having to clean up the devastation caused by high winds and floods. We need our farmlands to be safe for organic farms. Monroe County has some of the richest soil around, and so much of it has been paved over already or turned into housing with lawns that people use pesticides on. Addressing land use will be an important priority as California is running out of water and the Midwest breadbasket is suffering from high temperatures and drought, drying up many of our usual food sources. The continued putting in the air of carbon dioxide from county buildings not being energy efficient and from transportation that is not electric furthers the climate damage. And these two actions could bring down county expenses while decreasing our carbon pollution. Regulations for new buildings must be ones that require energy efficiency. They may scream when you first pass it, but as Monk says, they will thank you later for the saving incurred. I was discouraged from buying an electric car by a dealership just 2 years ago because of the lack of charging stations around Monroe County and New York State. This is an exciting time for change for the future and will create the jobs that Monroe County needs. It's a win-win situation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anna Sarasoletti, and I'm a sophomore at Penfield High School. I'm also a member of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. We see the current effects of the climate crisis every day in the news. The Amazon is burning, the ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, extreme hurricanes are destroying homes and tearing apart families. We see it so often it has become normal. This is utterly terrifying. The destruction of our home is normalized. If someone regularly came into your house and destroyed your belongings, broke holes in your walls, and tore down your doors and burned them, would you be all right with that? No, you wouldn't, and neither would I. Our home is the earth. According to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, global carbon emissions must fall 55% of 2010's levels to limit the warming of our home to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Last Friday, 150 students and community members braved the cold and snow to demonstrate the support for climate action legislation locally and federally. Students from about a dozen area high schools and universities attended. Earlier that day, fellow activists blocked traffic in Washington, D.C. during rush hour to march on the streets. In New York City, youth gathered at the New York City City Hall Park and marched to Foley Square. These students are demanding a future that is secured by legislation to fight the climate crisis. I rallied alongside my friends last Friday as well. I am constantly astounded by the dedication of the Rochester community to fighting this crisis and to showing the support for climate-oriented legislation. For my generation and for my children's generation, I beg you to see the dire urgency of this emergency. We ask that when the time comes for you to vote, remember your children, or your nieces and nephews, or even the children in your neighborhood. Remember how smart and inquisitive they are. Remember the future that they can succeed in and follow their dreams, and preserve this future by voting in favor of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board.
Our next three speakers are Arthur Doughton, Victoria Chidorenko, and Rob Levine. Arthur Doughton, Victoria Chidorenko, and Rob Levine.
Good evening. My name is Rob Levine. I live in the Bushnell's Basin area. I've been before this body every month since April in support of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. A wonderful group of students who, again, seem to be more like the adults in the room when it comes to climate change. I just want to let you know some statistics that came out this fall. This is from the Yale Program on Climate Change Communications, who does polling nationally at the national, state, congressional district, metro, and county level. For Monroe County, there's some interesting things you might want to know. 70% of this population believes in global warming and that it's happening. 73% believe global warming will harm plants and animals, of which humans belong. 71% believe global warming will harm future generations. And I think one of the most important things I learned in the most recent publication is that 57% of Monroe County residents believe that local officials should be doing more to address global warming. So I'd like to support the high school kids and asking this body, once again, to please put together a climate advisory board so that you can put a climate action plan together. Climate change is not going away, and the economic repercussions are going to be, let's think about it, people. And for this body not to address that is tantamount to a gross dereliction of duty. So I encourage you, please, 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 get on the job and start worrying about an existential threat, the climate crisis. It's an emergency. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Titorenko. I am 16 years old, and I am a resident of the town of Webster. Today, I will be advocating on behalf of myself, my friends, my family, and other members of the Webster community for the establishment of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board here in Monroe County. This board would aid the county in researching and executing effective changes that would eventually result in the end goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. Carbon emissions alone account for 82% of the global warming issue, which disrupts national economies and destroys affected communities around the world. Global warming's impact may be observed through the recent drastic rise of sea levels, increasing temperatures, ocean acidification, forest degradation, biodiversity loss, etc., and are attributed directly to human activity. We all have the power to stop this from continuing and must take action. And the start can be seen in the implementation of a much-needed Climate Action Plan Advisory Board, which would help Monroe County become the leader in green action policy and protect the planet we all call home. Thank you, and I beg you to please take action.
Our next three speakers are Bob Bond, Liam Smith, and Clinton Smith. Bob Bond, Liam Smith, and Clinton Smith.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liam Smith, and I'm a senior at Brighton High School. I'm also a member of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. As you will recall, I and my organization have been campaigning for Monroe County to establish a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board for about a year. We've come to every single legislature meeting for about 9 months, and we will continue to come until you pass the Climate Action Plan Advisory Board and make some substantive progress towards sustainability. Our proposal, which would establish a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board, has been withdrawn for the month of December, but we look forward to seeing it reintroduced early next year. I encourage every one of you who will be retaining your seats next year to vote for the legislation when the time comes. I also would like to ask that we make climate change a bridge issue rather than a wedge issue next year. The issue is simply too urgent to ignore, and polling shows that both Republicans and Democratic voters believe that the government should do something to address climate change. Additionally, Executive-elect Adam Bello has indicated his support of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board and other sustainability initiatives such as properly assessed clean energy finance. I urge you not only to make climate change a legislative priority in 2020, and not only to work across the aisle on this issue, but also to work closely with Bello to ensure effective policy and implementation in the following year. Only by prioritizing action, partisan partnership, and inter-branch cooperation will we make the progress we need. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Clinton Smith, and I'm a 10th grader at Brighton High School, and I'm also a part of RYCL. I'm also here to ask that when it's reintroduced next year, all of you that will still be here vote in favor of legislation that would create a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board, and that you consider the climate when drafting and voting on other legislation. Yeah. Thanks.
Our next three speakers are Charlie Innes, Kimberly Dewar, and Joanne Sassa.
You can start. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kim Dewar. I'm a special needs mom and an early adventure advocate. I'm the co-founder of Parents Helping Parents Coalition of Monroe County. This marks my 1-year anniversary of my very first legislative meeting I spoke at. I had my whole family up here, and instead of talking about how early intervention has helped my family, I painted you a picture of what my family would have looked like without early intervention and the costs that would have had on the county, state, and country. We have accomplished a lot together in the past year to improve early intervention and preschool special ed service administration. The 15% preschool special ed rate increase and the hiring and posting of more service coordinator positions. These accomplishments are wonderful, and I am grateful for them. But what has been lacking over this past year and previous years to that is the majority's participation in state-level advocacy for early intervention. Without the majority support, we have driven our local advocacy to the state on our own, but we have needed and continue to need you to accomplish goals that will improve how Monroe County delivers early intervention services. We formed Parents Helping Parents Coalition of Monroe County, which now has 181 members, including parents, providers, politicians, and community advocates. We joined forces with the Children's Agenda Interfaith Collaborative on a letter writing campaign asking Governor Cuomo to increase state funding for early intervention. Together, we collected 2,729 physical letters, 1,000 of which came from Parents Helping Parents. I will be one of the folks delivering them to the governor this month. Myself and 3 other parent leaders now make up the new executive committee for the LEICC. I am one of the co-chairs. All parents, representatives from Parents Helping Parents will be making public comment tomorrow at the state EICC meeting in Albany. We are booked with meetings with assemblymen and women, senators, and current candidates for both. I actually met with a wonderful candidate for senator this morning. We will continue to say yes to every meeting and every speaking event we are invited to. We aren't going anywhere. We will not stop, but we need the majority to work with us on advocating at the state level. 2.5 years ago, when my daughter started services, Monroe County arguably was the greatest service delivery of early intervention in the state. Without proper state funding, the program is failing. We need your support to make things right again. I'm hopeful that this new administration will carry our voice to help Monroe County's most vulnerable children. So far, it has felt like we have advocated at the state level on our own. Imagine what we can accomplish together. I also sit on the Kids Can't Wait Leadership Council, which is now seeking collaboration with other counties from across the state on this issue, but we need you. Be our voice. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Donald Adams, Megan Thompson, and Danielle Salamone.
Good evening. My name is Donald Adams. Most of y'all know me as Preacher. I came here in August, and we begged most of y'all. 11/11, God said, was exchange of hands. He took the head down. And I told y'all last month, I gave you a warning, but you didn't take heed. You had your little secret meetings, but it ain't gonna work. There's nothing, and I want you to take heed to it. He said, you tell them there's nothing that they will be able to do to Adam Bellows. I warned y'all. So you know what? It's time for everybody back there, all these people back there. We the one got the answer. It's time to turn it up. We're going to turn it up in the county ledge. We're going to turn it up in the city council. We're going to turn it up in the school system. This is our town. This is our streets. And I warned you. But you know what? It's time to get out there and turn it upside down from Rochester all the way to Albany.
My name is Megan Thompson, and I was a candidate for County Legislator in District 8 in Webster this past election. I knocked on over 2,000 doors, and house after house, I kept having the same interaction. People wanted to know, what is it exactly that the county legislator does? It's pretty interesting. After hearing this again and again, I realized that this was by design. The Republican-controlled county legislature does not want people to know what the county does. They do not want to be held accountable. They want to fly under the radar. That mentality is what the cable bill represented. They expected to get that bill through without a problem, without resistance. They have been teaching the public over the last 30 years that not to care about the county legislator. They have been teaching the electorate that early intervention, that the deputy's retirement are things that just don't matter. So they thought no one would notice this obvious power grab. They thought wrong. This community surprised them. You surprised them. Nice job. Now, everyone in this chamber recognizes this will not be the end. The Republican majority will continue trying to push through bad legislation like the cable bill, like the poorly written anti-harassment law. They hope that you won't notice their poor leadership and will forget in 2 years come election time. I know that the people here do care and will prove them wrong again and again. So to the community members here in the audience, thank you for fighting for truly good government. By working together, as a community, we can continue to hold this body accountable because they are accountable to us. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Clay Harris, Rosalind Walker, and David Burns.
Hello, my name is Rosalind Walker. I was here at the last county legislator meeting to speak about my opposition to the new annoyance legislation that was rolled out. And again, like the previous speaker said, under the radar. When I first came up here last month, I gave the benefit of the doubt that that there were good intentions maybe behind this particular legislation. But after listening to all the very sane and sound reasons why this was a poor piece of legislation and that it was going to hurt a lot of people, you heard from retired first responders, you've heard from just a lot of different people about, that it's redundant legislation, there are laws already there, it's anti-First Amendment, it's also going to be used as a way to circumvent the Fourth Amendment and illegal search and seizure. Somebody feels they were annoyed, they're going to get arrested, their stuff is going to get searched. We see it even with the current laws that are already out there. So this very broad-reaching one shouldn't have been done. And we know a lot of the people here, you had legal counsel, a lot of people have told you that this was a terrible law, but you passed it anyway. And I was actually very shocked that it went through unanimously with the GOP. And then we had this sham hearing last week. Very disappointed. That was disrespectful to the entire community. Very disrespectful. So, and for Ms. Denalfo, for you not to come and hear at a hearing and then sign this right after, again, just a total sham. That was not right. And for the co-sponsors to not come and listen to what constituents, both Republican and Democrat, this really was not a bipartisan issue. It's just basic human rights and constitutional, treat people like human beings type of issue. It shouldn't have been partisan like that. And the way this was done, again, we gave, first I had the benefit of the doubt, but then I'm like, okay, something more is behind this. We found out, this is boilerplate legislation. This was done in Broome County, and it's coming down from somewhere. The intentions are not good, as we can tell by the fact that you abused the matter of urgency policy. That has to stop. You circumvented the committee, the committee process to flesh out the soundness of it. People, again, told you just about how it's going to be used in the communities and how it will affect the more marginalized communities. And some of you work for those communities and then want to pass legislation like this. Ms. Boyce, you should be ashamed. And so this was not passed in good faith. We're not going anywhere. And this is just a colossal waste of time, money, and energy. It's going to cost the taxpayers. Doesn't matter what party you're in. Nobody wants to pay for this. And so we're asking you to repeal this. And just, like I said, it shouldn't have been done, and it's a shame. So with that, I'm going to leave it there. But we're not going anywhere.
Our next three speakers are Cynthia Tolman, Marla Parsons, and Celia Darling.
Good evening. I'm back. My name is Cynthia Tolman. I'm a resident of Monroe County. I'm also a pediatric speech-language pathologist. And I am also the director and CEO of a local agency that provides evaluations and therapy services to the early intervention and preschool population. I've been coming here for a little bit over a year. It just dawned on me. First, I would like to thank the members of this legislature for acting on behalf of the children and families we serve by approving a rate increase last March for speech, occupational, and physical therapy services at the preschool level in Monroe. I would also like to thank the outgoing county exec for the efforts she made on behalf of early intervention in Albany. I am here tonight to ask both sides of this legislature and the new county executive to continue to put children first and to work together in a nonpartisan way for the betterment of the children in our community. Why? Well, the provider shortage continues. Children are still on waiting lists for services. And there is still work to be done, even though with your help we have made strides. I urge you to approve another rate increase for preschool special education speech, OT, and PT in the upcoming budget, as well as funding for at least 4 additional service coordinators in early intervention. We also need your assistance, as you've heard earlier, to help enact much needed reforms in early intervention at the state level. A small 5% increase was approved in the state budget in April of 2019 for early intervention speech, OT, and PT. The sad reality is that we have not yet seen 1 penny of that rate increase from the state. We're still waiting. That is why we need your help to work with us at the state level. I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Speaking of looking out for the children, the Reproductive Health Act is a hideous and flawed law. Up until its passing, abortion was legal in New York State until 24 weeks gestation. That's the 2nd trimester of a pregnancy. But now the RHA allows for abortion through the 3rd and final trimester of a child's development. That is a full child. That's a baby. Tell me who in this room thinks that it is okay to rip apart and crush the skull of a full-term baby in the womb in order to extract its body, part by part, limb by limb, without any analgesia, no pain medication? Who here in this room thinks that a woman didn't have enough time to terminate her child all the way up to 24 weeks, that's the 2nd trimester, and needed to have that extra full term in order to make that decision? As Reverend Freeman noted, we are all deeply loved and precious in his sight. Well, let me add, all babies are deeply loved and precious in his, the Lord Jesus Christ, in his sight. And as the song goes, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red, brown, yellow, black, and white, all are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. I ask you to seriously consider what happens during a late-term abortion, one that is committed during the final 3rd trimester of a child's development inside its mother's womb. As a retired OBGYN has verbally and visually explained in previous months the barbaric process to you, surely there are better alternatives. I've discussed those alternatives with you last month. There are so many couples who are unable to conceive a child of their own. There are so many organizations who will help women in need with caring for their child should they choose to raise their child instead of aborting. We all know this to be true. Our efforts to repeal the Reproductive Health Act are not about overturning Roe v. Wade. That's not what we're asking for here. We're simply asking to repeal the Reproductive Health Act, which allows babies to be murdered in the womb up until birth. We are asking you, our county legislatures, to sign a non-binding resolution showing Albany that we do not approve of nor support this hideous and flawed law. Quoting Edmund Burke, Honorable Member of Parliament in the late 1700s, when the leaders choose to make themselves bidders at an auction of popularity, their talents in the construction of the state will be of no service. They will become flatterers instead of legislatures, the instruments, not the guides of the people. Furthermore, Burke may have been the author of the following statements. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men, and I'll add women, to do nothing. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? This is the most important moral issue of our time. This is not a political issue. Once again, I ask you members of the Monroe County Legislature to do the right thing, to send a message to Albany that we will not be a pawn in their politics. Murdering babies in the womb during the final trimester of gestation is no different than the heathens sacrificing their children to false gods or idols written about in the Old Testament. God Almighty is the judge. One day we will all stand before him at the white throne judgment. Let that settle upon your hearts. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Legislature. My name is Celia Darling, and I am a senior at Webster Thomas High School. I'm here tonight speaking with the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders about the establishment of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, run by the United Nations, predicts that the Earth will warm 14.4 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. A warmer planet amplifies the frequency of extreme weather, destroys harvests, and is responsible for the extreme rise of sea levels. These changes create billions of dollars worth of damage while drastically increasing the number of people who are hungry and displacing countless of families. We can prevent this starting here in Monroe County with the creation of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board. This board would be composed of 5 members of the legislature and 6 environmental experts that would advise the county on green policy to best benefit our county economically and environmentally, with the goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. As a resident of Webster, I am aware that my fellow community members support green policy like the creation of this board from both sides of the aisle. It's easy to see support for this in our county by looking at the Rochester climate strike in September that had over 1,000 people show their support for climate policy. More recently, over 150 people gathered in Brighton Friday to demand, on a county level, the creation of this board. To conclude, the people of Monroe County are asking for the creation of a Climate Action Plan Advisory Board, regardless of their party, as they want to keep the earth healthy for future generations like mine. Thank you very much.
Our next 3 speakers are Brittany Jensick, Thomas Moore, and Rebecca Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Johnson. I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of the United Christian Leadership Ministries, UCLM. I'm sure it's been a tough time for legislative Republicans as you watched in shock the reaction to your annoyance bill. You had good intentions that we all share. You wanted to safeguard first responders as they go about protecting the lives and well-being of all of us. But somehow you found yourselves passing a hastily crafted bill that harms instead of helps. It illegally infringes on precious, well-established First Amendment rights, threatens communities of color already vulnerable to overzealous policing, endangers first responders by increasing mistrust and suspicion, jeopardizes your own credibility, and likely will cost the county a lot of taxpayer money when this law is challenged in court and overturned, which it inevitably will be. There's a better way to safeguard first responders. Led by Reverend Lewis Stewart, UCLM for several years has been bringing community and police together under one roof to talk as human beings and increase mutual understanding. We sit at the table regularly with leaders of most county law enforcement agencies to openly discuss issues, including our disagreements, such as a very candid and useful conversation on bail reform we had just this morning. Actions that build positive and open relationships between community and police are the effective way to safeguard our first responders and all of us. Republican county legislators, you can now do something that will truly help our community. At a time when we are short on national models of integrity and good relationships, you can help start a new day in Monroe County. You can model how decent people behave when they've made a mistake. You can model integrity and wise humility for all of us. Courageously acknowledge that you were wrong and repeal this law.
Hi, my name is Thomas Moore. I'm a city and county resident. I just have a question for especially the Republican side of the aisle here. What sort of civics lesson are you giving Rochester youth climate leaders when you ignore their efforts to dialogue with you about Climate Advisory Board? Do you wish they'd go away and not seek the promise of a democratic process? Whether you like it or not, Republican members of town and villages of Monroe County are embracing opportunities to reduce their respective municipal carbon footprints by choosing to participate in community choice aggregation. They know that by doing so, they are providing a clean energy alternative for the residents as well as saving them money. Monroe County towns and villages are taking responsibility for leading their residents towards ways to address the climate crisis. Besides implementing community choice aggregation, which provides participating communities with cheaper and greener energy options, there many other initiatives and proposals include community composting, banning gas hookups in new construction, improved bikeways, LED street lighting, introducing electric vehicles to their DPW fleet, installing solar panels on municipal buildings, and more. All these things are being proposed and implemented right under your noses. Despite your resistance and your abdication of leadership responsibilities by refusing a Monroe County Climate Advisory Board. I'll end with a fragment of Drew Dellinger's poem entitled Hieroglyphic Stairway. It's 3:23 in the morning and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do while the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? Did you fill the streets with protest when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew? Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Say it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Brittany Jensick. This is my son Calder. I am a mama to 21 children, 14 children with special needs, and the co-founder of Parents Helping Parents. And this little guy wouldn't be here if it were not for the services of early intervention. So that's what I'd like to address tonight. I was recently asked to be interviewed for a magazine article on women in politics, and I laughed and told her that she had the wrong person. I said, I'm not a politician, I'm a mom and an advocate. But believing that this would be an excellent opportunity to talk about early intervention, I agreed to the interview if she was still interested. We met for a couple of hours. We talked about Parents Helping Parents and what the vision and mission are for that coalition. We talked about early intervention. I talked about some of my experiences with early intervention. And I told her that I believed very strongly that all families and children were entitled to the supports that our family was fortunate enough to receive. Unfortunately, the second part of that conversation was that in order for people to continue receiving supports, in order for these programs to survive, changes need to be made. You've heard me say it every month for the last year and a half. These programs are broken. This system is broken. Today, there are 132 children on the capacity list. So that means that there are 132 children that have been deemed eligible for services that are not receiving them. And I can tell you that this little guy would not be alive if he were have been put on a wait list, because his therapist noticed something very shortly after beginning working with him that had she not noticed, he wouldn't be here today. I'm here tonight with a renewed sense of hope that our incoming county executive will be able to find ways for our elected officials to work together to benefit this community and also this program. Mr. Bellows' 4-point plan identifies what is needed. We need funding, we need rate increases, we need to figure out how to attract and keep providers in this system. We need more service coordinators, a local task force, and a voice at the state level. I think it's been a common thread tonight that a lot of this community feels ignored by the current administration, feels as if many promises have been broken. We're ready for change. We're ready to be heard. And we're ready for a county executive and an administration that's going to listen to its constituents and protect this community.
Our next speakers are Radesh Singh, Martha Soriaro, Myra Brown, and Brenda Bishoping.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Radesh Singh, and I'm a member of the Rochester Youth Climate Leaders. My peers and I from local high schools across Monroe County have appeared before this body every month since last May, advocating for the establishment of a county-wide Climate Action Plan Advisory Board. This entity would include various experts drawn from the local Rochester community, from both the public and private sectors. They, upon forming, would have 6 months to draft a county-wide climate action plan that would commit the county to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 or sooner. The formation of an advisory board is a huge first step for our county to take in order to address the climate change in our region. Although we know our proposal is not up for a vote today, we are here to continue to serve as a reminder of the importance of local government action to address the global climate crisis. The scientists continue to tell us that we have 11 years, just over 1 decade, to transform our economy and world in order to avoid climate disaster. So, as we go into the holiday season and the new year and leave the 2010s behind us, we request that the continuing legislators in this body remember the importance of climate legislation and support the Climate Action Plan Advisory Board. Do it for my future and the future of my generation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Martha Soriaro. I am a senior citizen. I have 2 children, 2 grandchildren. I am a widow. And I should be checking off my bucket list, but no, and doing things that I did not have time to do. But no, here I am. I read this harassment bill, and for the first time in my life, I thought, wow, I'm being terrorized. I'm being harassed. Can I sue the legislature? And so I want to take myself, if I am protesting someplace, my God, they could put me in jail. They could fine me. And I'm not doing anything but just exercising my right to protest. But I am a compassionate human being who likes to help people. And I come from the healthcare profession. Now we make plans. We make plans to help people, to make them healthy human beings, to be able to enjoy themselves in this beautiful planet. Your job as legislators is to help to make plans to help people to thrive in a loving community with jobs, fair wages, health care, and education. But this does not help anybody Somebody referred to it as a Jim Crow law. I agree. This is a horrible, hate-filled bill, going after the poor, the vulnerable, the children, the immigrants. These are our best and brightest. And yes, some of our police forces are also the best and brightest, and I thank all those police departments who decided not to follow this law. Now, going after children, I think is a criminal. They are our best and brightest. They are our future scientists. Maybe one of these people that you want to harm might solve, if they were given a chance, a cure for cancer that you might get. But no, you want to fill prisons. Okay, I don't know. Are you benefiting from that? I have no idea. I will give you the benefit of the doubt. But unfortunately, I don't trust you. This bill is not... This bill is not relevant to anything. How do you wake up in the morning and have such negative thoughts to want to hurt people? A bill should be positive, a problem to solve. It should give you joy when you come up with some problem. I don't think this bill gives anybody any joy. This bill allows Trump to come to our community and shoot somebody and get away with it. I hope I am not the one he shoots. But if he has to shoot somebody, I hope it is me and not a child.
Good evening. I'm Brenda. When I first learned of the Reproductive Health Act that was passed in New York State, there were many parts of it that I objected to, but tonight I come to discuss one part of it that I really stand against. That is removing the penalties for infanticide of children who survive abortions. First, I would like to share what our 40th president, Ronald Reagan, had to say on the matter. Abraham Lincoln recognized that we could not survive as a free land when some men could decide that others were not fit to be free and should therefore be slaves. Likewise, we could not survive as a nation when some men decide that others are not fit to live and should be abandoned to abortion or infanticide. You may be thinking infanticide? This doesn't happen in our country. Well, think again. Please listen as I read a portion of this editorial in livenews.com. In a Florida abortion clinic, Secloria Williams delivered a live baby girl at 23 weeks. The clinic owner took the baby who was gasping for air, cut her umbilical cord, threw her into a biohazard bag, and put the bag in the trash. Heartbroken Secloria later had a funeral for her baby girl, who she named Shanice, a real person. In Secloria's home state of Florida, in just 1 year, in 2017, 11 babies were born alive during abortions. Later in that article, it goes on to say, and I quote, New York Governor Cuomo signed into law a bill to allow abortion until birth and even removes penalties for infanticide on any child who survives. So what does that mean? Well, it means that here in New York State, this egregious act of child abuse against baby Shanice would not even be considered a crime. That's because the RHA has removed penalties for these kinds of acts. This is despicable. This is a heinous disregard for human life. How can any parent in any branch of government be okay with this injustice? I am certainly not okay with it. I shudder to think how many times Secloria Williams has heard in her mind the sound of her baby gasping for air. Reproductive Health Care Act? Is that how you would want your sister, niece, or daughter to be cared for? I leave you with this quote from Martin Luther King. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
I will now recall those who registered to speak but did not come up when their name was called. Margaret Burns, Arthur Doughton, Bob Bond, Joanne Sassa, Charlie Ennis, Danielle Salamone, David Burns, Clay Harris, Myra Brown. This concludes the public forum.
I now declare open the public hearing entitled Approving Increase and Improvement of Facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District Frank E. Van Laer Wastewater Treatment Plant Secondary Clarifier Improvements.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Approving Increase and Improvement of Facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District Frank E. Van Laer Wastewater Treatment Plant Electrical System Improvements.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. At this time, we will recess the December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and we will convene the Pure Waters Administrative Board for the Gates-Chile-Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and the Rochester Pure Waters District. If there are no objections regarding referral 19-0262, we will lift from the table all 4 districts with 1 vote and adopt all 4 districts with 1 vote. The clerk will see to it that individual motion and resolution numbers are assigned to each. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWAB agenda items number 1, 3, 5, and 7.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to lift from the table. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
PWAB agenda items number 2, 4, 6, and 8.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Gates-Chile-Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and Rochester Pure Waters District, and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The December 10th, 2019 meeting of the Legislature is reconvened. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 19-0257.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to lift from the table. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 19-0257.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 19-0257.BR.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 4, referral 19-0259.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to lift from the table. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 19-0259.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 19-0259.BR.
Moved by Legislator Brew, seconded by Legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 19-0261.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 19-0261.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. We should be on 9. Pardon? Okay. Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 19-0256.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is a motion to lift from the table. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 19-0256.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Let the record reflect that I received correspondence from legislator Morelli stating his interest in this matter. Is there any discussion? I will now call a roll call vote on the main motion.
Mr. Marionetti? Yes. Ms. Cayley? Yes. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Mr. Ansello? Yes. Ms. Barnhart? Yes. Mr. Broth? No. Ms. Boyce? Yes. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mr. Delahanty? Yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. Draw? Yes. Mr. Felder? No. Mr. Flagler Mitchell? No. Ms. Halstead? Yes. Mr. Hebert? Yes. Mr. Howland? Yes. Ms. Lamar? No. Mr. Lightfoot? No. Mr. Mafucci? No. Mr. Michike? No. Mr. Morelli? No. Mr. Rockow? Yes. Mr. Shepard? No. Ms. Taylor? Yes. Mr. Turp? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? No. Mr. Wilt? Yes. Mr. Zale? Yes. President Carbone?
Yes.
19 to 10. Motion is adopted.
Legislator Cayley?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I registered an incorrect vote on that. I wasn't paying attention.
What is your correct vote?
Sorry.
Is it different? Okay. I'll accept the
Want to
correction.
We could recall the roll.
Okay, recall the roll. Let's do it over. Now pay attention this time, Legislator Cayley.
Mr. Marionetti? Yes. Ms. Cayley? No. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Mr. Ansello? Yes. Ms. Barnhart? No. Mr. Broth? No. Ms. Boyce? Yes. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mr. Delahanty? Yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. Draw? Yes. Mr. Felder? Mr. Flagler Mitchell? No. Ms. Halstead? Yes. Mr. Hebert? Yes. Mr. Howland? Yes. Ms. Lamar? No. Mr. Lightfoot? No. Mr. Mafucci? No. Mr. Michike? No. Mr. Morelli? No. Mr. Rockow? Mr. Shepard? No. Ms. Taylor? Yes. Mr. Turp? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? No. Mr. Wilt? Yes. Mr. Zale? Yes. President Carbone?
Yes.
17 to 12, motion to adopt passes.
I will need, now recess the full legislature in place while the clerk has some organizational duties, and we'll proceed in about 5 minutes.
We're going to get started in just a few minutes, so if everyone could find their seat, we'll be coming back to session.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to proceed with items number 69 through 77, which were just uploaded to your agenda. Please refresh your tablets. After these items, we will return to the regular agenda. Mr. Clerk, please read the next items.
Item number 69, referral 19-0321.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 70, referral 19-0322.
Moved by Legislator Brew. Seconded by Legislator Wilt. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Item number 71, referral 19-0323.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 72, referral 19-0324.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 73, referral 19-0325.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 74, referral 19-0326.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 75, referral 19-0327.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 76, referral 19-0328.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 77, referral 19-0329.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, seconded by Legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item carries. Now we will return to the regular agenda items. Mr. Clerk, the next item, please.
Item number 11, referral 19-0263.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Draw. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Marinetti? Yes. Ms. Cayley? No. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Mr. Ansello? Yes. Ms. Barnhart? No. Mr. Baroff? No. Ms. Boyce? Yes. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mr. Delahanty? Yes. Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. Draw? Yes. Mr. Felder? No. Mr. Flagler Mitchell? No. Ms. Halstead? Mr. Hebert? Yes. Mr. Howland? Yes. Ms. Lamar? No. Mr. Lightfoot? No. Mr. Mafucci? No. Mr. Michike? No. Mr. Morelli? No. Mr. Rockow? Yes. Mr. Shepard? No. Ms. Taylor? Yes. Mr. Terp? Yes. Mr. Wilcox? No. Mr. Wilt? Yes. Mr. Zale? Yes. President Carbone?
Yes.
17 to 12, motion to adopt passes.
Legislator Marionetti.
I rise to move items number 12 through 63, with the exception of items 45, 47, and 48, and ask that they be considered through one vote.
Second. Seconded by legislator Kelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the next item would be item number 45.
Just one moment.
Number 45?
Yep. Okay. Item number 45, referral 19-0296.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Yes, I rise to declare my interest, sir.
Pardon?
I rise to declare my interest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing legislator Halstead.
Is to declare my interest. I work for the University of Rochester Medical Center.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries.
Item number 47, referral 19-0298.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Boyce. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 48, referral 19-0299.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Yes, I rise to declare my interest in this one. Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item would be 64.
Item number 64, referral 19-0316.
Moved by legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 65, referral 19-0317.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 66, referral 19-0318.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 67, referral 19-0319.
Moved by legislator Terp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 68, referral 19-0320.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislator Brew. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, which is there is no unfinished business. And I'd like to call Cheryl Denolfo up, please, for a plaque. Our first plaque of the evening is being presented to our County Executive, Cheryl Donalfo. Here you go, Cheryl. Hold this. Okay. Cheryl was our county clerk for 12 years, where she served with dignity and integrity. She has served as our county executive for the past 4 years. It has been an honor to work alongside a leader like Cheryl Donalfo. Monroe County is a better place to live because of the strong foundation that she has laid in her tenure as county executive. Not only does Cheryl always put our residents first, but Cheryl is an outstanding representative and a great ambassador for Monroe County and the state. As county executive, Cheryl has several impressive achievements she should be proud of, including eliminating corrupt LDCs to save millions for taxpayers, securing 20,000 jobs, and creating a new economic development headquarters for Monroe County with the Jobs on Main project. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the completion of 2 incredible projects: the renovation of the Greater Rochester International Airport and the Animals of the Savannah exhibit at the zoo, which brought in new animals like our giraffes, Parker, Iggy, and Capenzi. And Cheryl, I know that the residents of Monroe County are better off today than your first day in office because of the fiscally responsible decisions you made, from back-to-back property tax rate cuts to all A credit ratings. I would like to say on behalf of the residents of Monroe County, thank you. The list of accomplishments goes on and on, but for the sake of time, I'd like to thank Cheryl for her endless commitment to our county and to the members of her administration for all the information and answers they have provided to the legislature. Cheryl and I are both from Arundecoit, and we've been serving together for a number of years, and I know I'm going to miss her in these chambers. At this time, I'd like to present this plaque to the County Executive, Cheryl Donalfo, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature.
Well, first of all, so anybody who really knows me knows that I like to give rather than receive. So I'm really humbled by and taken aback by the plaque. So let me just say in closing, it has been an absolute delight to work with all of you. You all know that nobody goes at it alone. So let me first of all thank certainly my administration. You know, I got to tell you what, windstorms, snowstorms, flooding, doesn't matter. This team was always there. You know, they slept with their phones and they answered calls at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, got out of bed to go protect our lakeshore residents, got out of bed to go and help people whose homes had been ravaged with windstorms. These folks do it day in and day out. And from the bottom of my heart to everybody who served in my administration, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you, because I know that we paddled the boat the same way, and that boat was to be paddled for the residents of the County of Monroe. So I want to thank them. Please join me in just a round of applause for them. They are a tremendous, tremendous team. And speaking of team, to everybody here in the chambers on both sides of the aisle, we have a lot to be proud of over these last 4 years. And I know that we all have the same interests at heart, and that is the 750,000 residents of this community who call Monroe County home. I know that we have left the last 4 years, as I leave and as we have all worked together, we are certainly leaving Monroe County in a far better place than it was 4 years ago, and that is because of our collective efforts. So I want to thank you for your friendship and your partnership to really get the job done for the residents of the County of Monroe. And last but not least, to those who are in this audience who work in county government and those who might be listening at home or catching this on Twitter, there are no more dedicated people in this community than the 4,500 employees of the County of Monroe. Those people every day who get up and make a difference. They do the right thing, whether they're on our roads, protecting the public, whether working with our children and families. They do the right thing every single day, and we all owe them a huge debt of gratitude. Thank you for the opportunity to serve this community. It has certainly been an honor of a lifetime. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call up Legislator Halstead, please. Thank you, Legislator Halstead. You were appointed to serve the 18th District of Monroe County Legislator and have done so with great tenacity and dignity. In your time as County Legislator, you have served as Vice Chairwoman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee and a member of the Human Services Committee. You should be very proud of how you have represented the communities of Perrinton and East Rochester, and I hope you will continue to do so in a different capacity. I know how much care and passion you have for families and children in our community. Thank you for your service in the legislature. It has been a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you the best of luck. I know you will continue to do great things in and for our community, and I am proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and representation of the constituents of Perrinton and East Rochester.
It's been an absolute honor to be able to serve the residents of Perrinton and East Rochester and work with all of you in these honorable chambers. Earlier this year, I stood up here to be sworn in, surrounded by my family, and the call to serve was an unexpected one for me. But those of you who know me know that service will always be a part of who I am, so it was tough to say no, and I'm so glad that I have been with all of you. My time, although short, has been most memorable, and I'm looking forward to a new chapter where I can find other ways to stay involved in our community. And I wish all of you who will continue to serve in this new year my very best. Thank you so much.
Legislator Shepherd, come on down. Chief. Thank you, Legislator Shepherd. You were elected to serve the 23rd District of the Monroe County Legislature in November of 2015. In your time as a county legislator, you have served as a member of the Transportation Committee and the ranking minority member of the Public Safety Committee, where you were able to share your knowledge with the committee from your past career as Rochester Police Chief. You should be very proud of how you have represented the community of Rochester and Brighton, and I hope you continue to do so in some capacity. Thank you for your service over the past 4 years in the legislature and your time in law enforcement. It has been a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you the best of luck and success in your future endeavors. I'm proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and representation of the constituents of Rochester and Brighton. Thank you.
I just want to say it's been a tremendous honor to serve in this esteemed body. And I think that I made a point of not speaking unless I had something to say. And what I'd like to say moving forward is that, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican. The fact of the matter is we're here to serve the people of Monroe County. And I hope that we continue to do that, and we do it in a way that makes them proud that we're here to serve them. Thank you.
Legislator Michiki. Thank you, Legislator Michiki. You were elected to serve the 26th District of Monroe County Legislature in November of 2011. In your time as county legislator, you have served as the chairman of many committees, including Public Safety, Intergovernmental Relations, and Environment and Public Works Committee, as well as vice chairman of the Public Safety and the Transportation Committee, most recently serving as ranking minority member of the Human Services Committee. You have represented the communities of Rochester, Gates, and Greece commendably. You have served your district well in your time in the legislature. Thank you for your service over the past 10 years, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and representation of the constituents of Rochester, Gates, and Greece.
I'm going to borrow the theme from Bob Hope, and what he had was thanks for the memories. I remember hyperextending my ankle in 2015, 2 weeks before the election. It was Doc Carbone who x-rayed, booted my foot, and healed me. In his generosity, he never sent me a bill. Thanks for the memories. He's a very generous man. When a little girl named Brooke Stagels died in my district, 2 legislators crossed the aisle and had many meetings and wrote together new CPS laws to save future children. Thanks for the memories, Justin Wilcox. To many trips to inter-county meetings with Legislator George Hebert, discussions with Legislator Mike Zale and Frank Elkoffer, Carlette Boyce, Joe Morelli Jr., and so many others. Thanks for the memories. The heated discussion I once had with my friend, Josh Baroff. And yeah, just one. And I had to go to Josh and apologize for him for being too passionate. And he graciously accepted. Thanks for the memories. Taught me a little humility. I think of the honesty of Legislator John Holland, the sweetness of Legislator Debbie Draw and Kathy Taylor. Thanks for the memories. There are so many other people to mention, but there's obviously not a lot of time. Knowing I made a difference in this county and state as a legislator, and in the city from my mayoral platform and campaign is gratifying. It has been my honor and privilege to serve with all my governmental colleagues. Thank you all. Merry Christmas, and thanks for the memories.
Honorable Minority Leader Cynthia Cayley. Whoa. Thank you, Minority Leader Cayley. You were elected to serve the 28th District of the Monroe County Legislature in November of 27. In your time as County Legislator, you have served as the Minority Leader, Assistant Minority Leader, Ranking Minority Leader of the Planning and Economic Development, Human Services, and Agenda Charter Committee, as well as being a committee member of each committee over your tenure. You have represented the City of Rochester very well, and I know that your leadership, passion, and knowledge you displayed throughout your tenure will continue as you begin your next chapter. Thank you for your service over the past 10 years. It has been a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you the best of luck, and I'm proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and representation of the constituents of Rochester.
I'd like to say this was going to be short and sweet, but it's not. No, I was going to take Shep's 2 minutes, but he showed up. But he only talked for about 30 seconds, so I got a minute and a half. I sort of changed what I was going to say, but I'm going to say most of what I had ready anyways. And it's a little long, but it's 12 years of my life, so you're just going to have to bear with it. You don't have to grin, you don't have to clap. But it's going to start off with a story as to why I did what I did for as long as I did, because a lot of people will not do it that long. Pete, Thursday, February 23rd, 2017. Backing out of my driveway, I spotted a tall man walking with a walker up the street covered with snow. His legs were, he would have been taller, but his legs were bent at the knees, and that caused his feet to cross as he walked up the street. As he raised his head to look at a parked car and go behind it, I pulled up next to him and I rolled down my window and said, "Are you okay?" And immediately I thought, what a stupid thing to say. But he smiled at me and said, "Sure." It was bitterly cold that day, and that he had no gloves caused me to wince. Not his legs, not his knees, not his rickety walker because it was pretty mangled, but it was the fact that his hands were out and exposed the whole time he was walking. That made me feel, I don't know, really bad. And as he said, sure, that he was fine, in less than a heartbeat he said, "But if you got the time, I would greatly appreciate a ride to the bus stop at Ravine and Lake. Knowing where I live, it's not a very long ride." So I just said, "Sure, let me clean off my seat." He folded his walker, showing me how badly it worked, and that it was his second one this year, and he was clearly exasperated. He said he just came from his uncle's house around the corner. His uncle was infirmed, and he just wanted to check on him. We both laughed at the irony of the situation while putting his donated walker in the back seat. He buckled up and said he didn't want to go to the other place, Tops, which was actually closer. And I got the impression that there was something else besides the snow that made him not want to go to Tops. He sort of mumbled that he couldn't go there or he just didn't want to go there. And so as we stopped at the light at Lexington, he pointed to the corner of Lake and Ravine and he said, "That's what I want to go. I want to go to that corner store." And I said, "Sure." So as we were pulling up, finding a place to park so he could catch the bus, I said to him, "Is this a good bus for you to get where you're going?" And he said, "Yeah, but it's a bit of a struggle to get in and off the bus with a walker. So I would greatly appreciate if you could take me instead of my taking the bus." And he didn't have to tell me that his wheels were bad. He had me at greatly appreciate. So I decided that I would take him to wherever he was going, and I didn't know where he was going yet. But at that moment, he asked me if he could run into the corner store to buy some chips. He didn't take his walker. That would have been too difficult. But it hurt me to watch him struggle into the store because he was at least 300 feet from the door and the sidewalks weren't plowed. Surprisingly, it didn't take him long. And when he came out for making his purchase, the bag I could recognize held a couple 20-ounces with no chips. Whatever, I'd interrupted his routine. He would have gotten there on his own and made his own purchase. So he added the chips to his list, thinking maybe I felt better about it, but it didn't matter. Laughing, kind of tucked the bag down in the seat and said, changing the subject, "I thought that was your car over there." And I looked over there, and it was another SUV, and I drive a Ford Edge, black. And we both laughed. And I looked at it, and I thought it didn't look like anything like the car he was getting into. So I just said, "Well, you know, everybody thinks they all look alike," and we just laughed again. Back on the road, he turned to me, and he said, "So what's your name?" And I said, "Cindy." "My name is Pete," adding, "Some people call me Bling Bling." I asked where that came from, and his reply, as he tilted his head back with a sheepish grin, said, "I don't think I'm going to tell you that story." I said, "Okay. I don't need to know that one, but my grandfather's nickname was Pete, and it had nothing to do with his real name, so I will remember your name is Pete." A few more yards down the road, and he uttered quietly, "Lewis. My last name is Lewis." After that, history flowed out of Pete Lewis's mouth. He told me about his family. He told me about his adopted and real mother in Syracuse, mumbled a bit at that point, and then said, "But I love her." Then said he'd been living with his uncle, who was infirmed now, and a cousin who wasn't very reliable at rides, but he was family, so you know what family is. He was very clear on his relationships. Almost to the destination, he had one more story about being jumped at a bus stop. And he recounted that at least 3 or 4 people came to his aid, and his words were, including a couple Hispanic guys and a white lady. So we're just kind of laughing our way down this road to get to wherever he was going, because I still didn't know where he was going yet. And he said, as he jumped the guy that was jumping him with his walker, they kept yelling at me, "Bling Bling, let him up. Bling Bling, let him up." And I finally let him up, and then the police came, and for a moment I thought that they were after me. But they weren't, and I was pleasantly surprised. We also discussed the weather, because we were running out of topics at that point. And I asked him which he thought was harder to handle, 2 feet of snow or the recent 80-mile-an-hour winds that he had to walk in. The only difference we came up with was that the snow would be gone, the winds would die down, but the snow would remain. But he did add that he never wanted to have to walk in those winds again, walker or not. So finally, pulling up to the tattered marquee of the infamous Cadillac Hotel, we exchanged the usual chatter. Again, not much to say at this point. Thanks, no need, happy to help. As I got his walker out and gave him my card, he said, "You're a legislator." which surprised me because many people, when you give them a card, they don't necessarily look at it closely. I said, yeah. I said, if you need help, not with drinking, but your walker and your uncle, give me a call. And his response to me was, boldly, right, will I get an answering machine? I grabbed the card back, wrote my home phone number and my cell phone number on the back, and said, that's my home number, you're gonna get a machine, leave it, I'll call you back. This is my cell phone, please use it for emergencies. This was in 17, so I wasn't using it as much then. And I said, just call if you need something for you or your uncle. And when I said the part about the cell phone, he said, don't worry, I won't disrespect you. And he went on his way. He took the card, moving as quickly as he could to the door, turned and said, with this sense of urgency that I didn't quite understand, because I'd been a part of 15, 20 minutes in his life, and said, thanks, bye, I gotta go. And he turned to the bathroom. And I stood there as he walked in the building and said, okay, I'm history. So it's the people like Pete that I've met over the last 12 years. That was in the middle of everything, but it's like Pete, who would share his story with me because I took the time to give him a ride to the Cadillac Hotel. I've never seen Pete again. I don't know if he lives around the corner for me or not, but he's got my number. Finally, I have a few, how long was that? Oh, wow. Yes, I cut it down from 8, you know. Oh! Yeah, all right. Well, I'll take out the part where I was thanking you then, okay?
That's a good one.
Snap. Mike Davis, thanks. It was a pleasure working with you and John Howland and others on the airport board. Thank you, and enjoy your retirement. Robert Burns, thanks. You've been here the whole time I've been here and more, and you actually asked me why I wasn't at NISAC. I appreciated that. Mr. Van Strydonk, it took me, did I say it right? Thank you, it took me 4 years. Okay, I don't know what your wife thinks. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for your service in all the different levels, and as a Blue Star mother, thank you very much for your service to this country. You are a gentleman. Larry Staub, Olmsted, Olmsted, Olmsted. You must be sick of hearing it. Is he even here? There you are. I am appreciative of the listening that you did in the years in what you did at the zoo. And so are the other people on the Friends of Frederick Law Olmsted Committee. That said, I have 8 thoughts. They're only a sentence apiece, so you're just going to have to suffer. 1, I would love to say that I possess the largesse to say I will miss y'all, but I don't. I will not be thanking everyone for their service. That would be disingenuous. However, I will thank all the staff, majority included, employees, legislators, many of you, and advocates and the officers that protect us. Thank you. It is critical, witnessed by tonight, which actually had a short list, that as legislators you need to listen, but I sincerely will not miss the shaming that happens on a monthly basis. And for those of you in the majority party, most of it is aimed at you, and I have felt the shame with you, whether that means anything or not. Because when you're in the minority, there's rarely a win. There is no reflecting on job well done. Now, I know you may not all agree with me on that one, but it's very difficult to win. And when I win, then when I say job well done. Conversely, so many of majority wins, if examined, would be judged as simply hollow. Finally, my go-to saying for this year has been, be careful what you wish for. My wish for Monroe County 2020 is for this body to learn how to win together, because only then do you have the right to say job well done. And thank you.
John Howland. John, come on up. Thank you, Legislator Howland. You were elected to the county legislature in November 2009. In your time as county legislator, you have served as the chairman of many committees, including Transportation, Environment and Public Works, Planning and Economic Development, and Agenda Charter Committee, as well as vice chairman of Ways and Means, Planning and Economic Development, and Agenda Charter Committee. You have been a strong representative for the communities of Henrietta and Pittsford. The residents you represented are better off because of your service, and you should be proud of all you have done for them. I hope you continue to be an active member of the community and build on your great work as a county legislator. Monroe County is a better place to live because of your dedication, hard work, and kindness here in the legislative chambers. Thank you for your service over the past 10 years. I have enjoyed working with you and wish you the best of luck. I'm very proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and all you have done for Henrietta and Pittsford. Congratulations. Your turn.
Well, first I'd like to say that my wife Terry would have been here today, but she started drinking early. So, yeah. But with that aside, I'd like to say just how much I've come to appreciate all the legislators that I've met. All quality people, all people that really had the best interest for Monroe County at heart. Secondly, I'd like to, I can't say it as well as Cheryl did, but when I came 10 years ago, I didn't have a lot of respect for the people that work for Monroe County. That quickly changed, and the people that this county has working for them is truly a blessing. Lastly, I would like to pass my crown of being the oldest legislator here in the chamber to Frank Alcoffer. I'm sure you're going to wear it well, but thank you, everyone, and thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it.
Very good. Big Mike, rock out. Thank you, Mike. You were elected to the county legislature to represent the 2nd District in November of 2009. In your time as county legislator, you served as the Assistant Majority Leader, Chairman of the Agenda, Charter, and Planning and Economic Development Committee, Vice Chairman of the Ways and Means and Human Services Committees, as well as a member of the Intergovernmental Relations, Public Safety, Transportation, and Environment and Public Works Committee. You have represented the communities of Clarkson, Sweden, and Hamlin with immense passion over the last decade. You have shown dedication, hard work, and kindness in your time here in the legislative chambers, and the community is stronger because of it. Thank you for your service in the legislature. I've enjoyed working with you, and we wish you the best. I'm very proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your service and representation of the constituents of Clarkson, Hamlin, and Sweden. All right.
I don't know where I'll start, but Cindy's on the watch. It's a pretty impressive resume for a guy that about 11 years ago, they came to me and said, I was thinking about running for the town board in Sweden, and I was all on board. I was ready to do that, and at the last minute, the gentleman that was going to run resigned, or said, "No, I'm gonna run again." So I was a little bit depressed. I had gone through the interview and everything like that, and a couple of weeks later, the Republican committee came to me and said, "You want to run for county legislature?" And I said, "What's that?" Not a clue. Not a clue. Not a clue. And, you know, it's been one of those things that I couldn't have done without the support of my wife and my family. And any of you know that your significant others or your spouse, you can't do this on your own. if I would have put something down on writing, Pam would have said, well, you're just going to read it like you're going to read it like you had written it. So I'm just kind of going to wing it here. I walked through the community these past 10 years holding my head high, knowing that I'm always there for the folks. And I've always read it, Hamlin, Sweden, Clarkson, because I grew up in Hamlin. I live now in Sweden, and my brothers lived in Clarkson, so they got the last of it. I don't know if there's any other community service for me. I have 3 grandchildren. I'm looking forward to spending time with them. And, it goes back to it was about 1985 was my first opportunity of knocking on doors. And that was, we had lived in Orleans County for a brief period of time, and I was a dog census taker. So I got to go and knock on doors, and that was the first opportunity of knocking on doors. And I'm here to do this. And so, that made campaigning a lot easier. I did have the opportunity to work with 2 county executives and 2 administrations and 6 chief of staffs. And it's almost like the Christmas song. And I'm thinking it's 20, 25 legislative assistants. And we were going through them pretty quickly there for a while. But that's all good because they've all moved on to bigger and better places. And I'm going to summarize. I'm going to miss you all. I've enjoyed it, and thanks for the opportunity.
Vice President Debbie Draw. Vice President. Save the best for last.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Thank you, Legislator Draw. You were appointed to the County Legislature in August 2009. In your time as County Legislator, you have served as the Vice President, Assistant Majority Leader, Chairwoman of Ways and Means and Human Services Committee, Vice Chairwoman of the Ways and Means, Public Safety and Recreation and Educational Committee, as well as a member of the Ways and Means, Human Services, Environment and Public Works, Public Safety, Recreation and Education, and Transportation Committee. You have represented the community of Penfield very well, and I know that you will go on to continue to represent Penfield residents well in your new capacity as Town Board member. Congratulations. You have shown dedication, strength, and kindness in your time here in the legislative chambers. We have worked together as a great team during your tenure as Vice President. Thank you for your service. You have left your indelible mark, and I have enjoyed working with you, and I wish you only success in future endeavors. I'm very proud to present you with this plaque to honor you for your years of faithful service and representation of the constituents of Penfield.
So I was going to say that the hour is getting late, but it really isn't because it's probably the earliest budget we've ever had. I won't take as long as you, Cindy. I promise. But it's time for me to say goodbye. I can't let this night close. I did write something down because I thought we'd be doing this at midnight, so I wasn't sure that I cannot let this night close without thanking the people that have helped to make me a better legislator these last 10 years. And my wish that needs to continue here in these chambers. It's a cliche, but I'm always reminded that without the wisdom and guidance of God, I would not have been given this assumed responsibility to serve the people. I probably have never thanked my husband, Steve, and my family here. I actually told him he didn't have to come because it was going to be midnight tonight, but I'm going to thank him anyway. And because without their support, as so many have said, none of us would probably be here. To my fellow legislators, the administration, the county executive, the staff, the people that work here in Monroe County, I am going to miss all of you. I really, truly am. I walked up these stairs for the last time as a legislator tonight, and I always can't help but think what a beautiful building this is, and that how much history and how much government, good things have happened here in this building. Your dedication as the legislators here to good government is evident from our referrals, to our proclamations, to our budgets, and to our local laws in this county. I thank you for helping to make me a little more knowledgeable, a little more compassionate, and especially the people that come here to speak before us. And I'm a little more open-minded to other people's opinions and to consider their ideas and things that will benefit our constituents and to the people we represent and they serve in this county. 10 years has gone by in a flash. It really has. My fellow legislators, I wish for you, your time to serve the people is limited. So don't waste it while you're here. Don't let the noise of other opinions drown you out in your inner voice and the voice of the people you represent. Most of you know that I come from a mother that was an elected official. She once told me, and when I began my career to run for public office, she told me that the greatest honor we have as an elected official is being chosen to represent the people of our community, and that the people who have placed you in that office are the same people that can remove you, and to always do right by the people you represent. I've always tried to live by that, and I promise that I, for one day, have never realized that that's taken that responsibility lightly. Most of you all have the courage to do the same, and I know you will follow your heart and your intuition, and you will all do good. My colleagues, I thank you for your support, your friendship. We have not always agreed, yet none of us achieve anything here in isolation. So the successes we've had for this county have been the results of our mutual cooperation and our collaboration. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work alongside each and every one of you, and I do mean that. I will be watching from my little town on the east side, so I know that you will continue to do good things here, and I too wish that everyone here works together for the benefit of all the people of Monroe County. So happy holidays to you, to your families, and be safe. And good luck in 2020. Thank you.
Before we end, I'd like to wish you all a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season, and wish you and yours a happy new year. Legislator Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. The session of the Monroe County Legislature stands adjourned sine die.
Thank you.